Hey everyone, welcome back to Archetypical and our Data Tales series. This is our first episode. Excited to launch this series. Concept behind it is really I want to bring in experts from all different fields, all different industries, talk about their careers, talk about their expertise, as well as what they've learned in this world of data, business systems, and where kind of these technologies are going in different industries. So for episode 1, the inaugural episode, bringing on Laynie Chappell. That's how you say your last name, right?
Yes.
Chappell? Make sure I get that right. Okay. First thing I wanted to talk about, actually, isn't in any of the stuff that I sent you.
Okay.
So, I want this on the record to start.
All right.
So we did a golf tournament.
Yes.
A few months ago.
Yes.
And I just want to talk about my 25, maybe even 30-foot putt. That curving putt that I sunk, that was just an impressive long putt.
Yeah.
I just want everyone to know that happened. She was there.
Mitchell saved the day. We were, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 under, and we got one more to put up a good showing. Yep. But yeah, we thought we were out of the hole. But
only shot of mine that I think we took the entire 18.
I think it was the only one we used.
And if you ever play with Laynie, she's very, very good. So why don't we dive into it? I'd love to have you kind of run through a little of your career journey, how you arrived at your current role, what you're kind of currently doing with HarborOne Bank. But so why don't we start there?
Sure. So I got started in the working world a long time ago. Started at Liberty Mutual Insurance. After I got my MBA at Bryant University, go Bulldogs. Fun fact, I almost became a collegiate field hockey coach, and then I figured why put this beautiful degree to waste and went into the working world. So started there and got my feet wet in their IT department, international IT department, and started to get exposed to Oracle products, back then called Hyperion Financial Management, which is probably something different now. Anyway, so spent some time there, but during my MBA, I took a course on consulting 101, something like that, and really got interested in that field and project work and, understanding how you could go in and help companies and add value. So I got an opportunity to work for Archetype Consulting. They were actually doing a project at Liberty, not in my department, but at Liberty at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so met some folks there, and shortly after came to Archetype, spent some time here, then moved on to Accenture, and then went to another small consulting company, and after quite a long time in client service, thought I would hang up the cleats for a while and saw an opportunity at HarborOne Bank. That was a little bit like what I was doing in consulting, a lot of process improvement, business systems implementation, that type of role. It was a net new role to lead this team that was sort of a jack of all trades in their technology department. And the number one sort of objective of this role was to implement a new data warehouse, kind of revamp their on-premise environment, move to the cloud, and really try to move forward their data and analytics environment approach strategy.
It seems like that role kind of really took a lot of all of what you were doing in consulting.
It did.
And now doing it just internally. You were almost operating still as a consultant.
Yeah, it felt like it for a while. Obviously, I came into a team that was there, but we had some business as usual stuff, a component of that to my job, but a lot of it in the beginning was focused on getting this project off the ground and getting people on board and implementing it.
How do you feel that those years in consulting really shaped your role as well as kind of the success you've had at HarborOne?
A lot. It's quite a transition in the beginning, not going to lie, going from consulting to industry. But I took a lot with me. It's not too dissimilar, especially the fact that I was spearheading this implementation. So it was, how do you gain consensus? How do you get something off the ground? How do you show value? How do you get stakeholder buy-in before launching this? How do you get the investment? What's the ROI? Like doing all of that analysis and understanding what our current state business problems were. How do we get to the end state, based on how mature we are? So all of that analysis or synthesization or whatever, synthesis or strategery and consulting that they call it. But all of that stuff obviously helped. And then once we got into implementation, the delivery component and making sure that we had a successful rollout of the project.
And as you're kind of looking at the kind of consulting space and even kind of the implementations that we've been a part of at Harbor One, I feel like your role internally with the client, a lot of places don't seem to have that type of, or at least it seems like that kind of role bought in of like looking at, we're not just implementing technology for the sake of technology, like we're trying to solve key business problems. And a lot of times I've seen that the client, and I've made this same mistake even internally here at Archetype, of like we implement a technology and the reality is I don't have the time, bandwidth, or capacity to make sure this technology is being implemented to really solve the problem and really build the business case around it, where that's kind of seems like that's a major part of your role, is building this business case around the technology and proving the value out of what you're doing, not just for the sake of throwing in a new data warehouse, like actually making sure there's an outcome to that that's business driven.
Yes. As I said, it was a net new role that the new CIO at the time had figured out they needed or found a need for. We do have a project management office, and I see in other more mid-sized, smaller banks the same type of structure as we had, but really having someone fully dedicated to, like I said before, stakeholder buy-in, doing the analysis. A lot of people have their day jobs, and so it's difficult. Sometimes I see where I am for things to get off the ground because people are trying to do their day jobs. But they do see the need. They see an opportunity. So in addition to this implementation, I've helped and try to add value that way with helping other colleagues in different business units kind of get their projects or business cases off the ground so we can continue that sort of continuous improvement culture.
Do you think there's a reason a lot of companies kind of maybe struggle with defining that role? Because I mean, that looking back at even, we implemented an applicant tracking system here at Archetype that I helped manage that implementation. And the reality was I didn't have the time to be able to really implement it successfully. And I'm willing to admit that. And it was really my fault and not the software's fault, not the people who helped us with the implementation. It was really all on me of not having that bandwidth to be able to, with my day job, to be able to make sure that that was successful. Where I sit there and I go, like, not that it would necessarily make the most sense for that type of implementation, but for a lot of these technologies, like having that role focused on just that, like why do companies seem to struggle with defining that, it seems?
I don't know. I see it here. I see it again with some of our peer banks. And then when I was consulting before I came to Harbor One, we focused on mid-market clients, and a lot of the smaller mid-market companies out there, not just banks or financial services, don't seem to have this type of role or this type of team. There's business analysts, there's product owners, teams like that, but not necessarily someone or some people that are focused on, understanding the business side, understanding the technical side, knowing how to bridge the two, how to understand the value, articulate the value, make sure you deliver, because again, there's not a lot of discretionary funds to throw out on all the new shiny balls and technologies and all of that. So for smaller mid-market companies, these dollars mean a lot. Yeah. So understanding that investment and having a stake in it. But, I don't know. A lot use third parties and that come in and go, or, they try to change someone's job that's already there to do it. But I think it's not tooting my horn, but but a undervalued position. And I see a lot of opportunity for either teams or positions like mine in sort of the small business mid-market.
And it's so instrumental. It's hard, and it's a challenging one I see to maybe sometimes see the ROI after the fact because you've had a successful implementation and things have gone well now. But if they've been through even one implementation that's gone not as they expected and they're not getting the outcome that they're seeing, there's obviously all the dollars that went into that implementation, but now there's the dollars that are going to go into, now how do we fix what we just did that's now not right? Do we need a different tool? Do we need to redo the implementation of this tool? There's a whole now basically doubling the cost of that initial one, where if they had that buy-in or that person that was focused on exactly what you did, they wouldn't have these issues in the first place.
Well, you can either have someone in-house that does it, or you can pay and add that to whatever vendor consulting services. But, there are some vendors and consulting technology service out there that don't do that, right? That won't run a good vendor selection for you. That won't run an RFP process. That won't do a current state analysis. So, or, it's not cost effective for you to do it. So you kind of got to weigh the pros and cons. But I think there's so much opportunity in mid-market, small community banks, especially in the Northeast, that, not just in data and analytics, but kind of business systems across the board.
Yeah. And I find that interesting, speaking of kind of the tech side. So you started, I didn't realize you started with more kind of that CPM, HFM world.
I did.
So you're dealing with the whole gambit of all the different business systems, not just data warehousing, like all of that.
Yeah. The start was finance transformation, planning, budgeting, forecasting, management reporting. Did some more, technical analysis in terms of technology rationalization or consolidation, architecture, blueprinting, things like that. But really was focused in finance, closing consolidations. Also got my feet wet in ERP, GL, P2P, accounts payable, cash to quote to cash, that whole side of it as well. And then, obviously at Harbor One, it was a little bit different. I have worked with our finance department on a couple things, but it was definitely more broad and then focused more on the data and analytics.
Well, you went, so your bachelor's was in marketing and communications, right?
Yes.
So, and that was, so before even pursuing your MBA, what was that point that kind of made you have interest in more of the technical and data aspects of the business?
I don't know, Mitchell. When I wasn't into business school. Now, people will say Bryant's not a business school anymore, but when I was there and it was still Bryant College, it was, Bryant, Babson, Bentley, and that's how I put it in the order I like. But yeah, I wanted to do marketing, communications, more creative, less business, like far away from business and technical and finance as I possibly could. And then it was really when I was in grad school and I had that Consulting 101 class, read a couple books. Confessions of an Economic Hitman is a wonderful book. Hal Record, my professor, recommended that. But that's when I thought to myself, all right, I can't just, I got interested in consulting, but I wanted to be a little bit broader. Obviously, I got some opportunities with using Oracle tools right off the bat that kind of got me a taste of, technology systems, because I had no idea there was even a consulting world around systems implementations or SIs existed. I thought consulting was, strategy, McKinsey, Bain, Boston Consulting Group. Should we merge? Should we acquire? Like all of that very like flashy stuff. I had no idea that this other this other type of consulting existed. So getting into those tools and understanding that, hey, here's another way I can add value to me that's a little more tactical, that's delivery focused, getting stuff done, seeing the fruits of your labor. And then obviously, over the last decade, 15 years or so, data and analytics and the whole importance of that and, big data and all of that, it was silly not to broaden my horizons and kind of get into that space.
It seems like I always love to see the translation or what skill sets translate into now people's current roles, and that creative component of like marketing and communications. There's such a level of being creative in the innovative solutions for clients that I think comes into that. Like my background being in marketing as well, I love talking about the stories of like how these creative technology solutions get to a certain outcome. And I think having that somewhat marketing lens of being able to tell the story of these technologies is exactly what you're doing in the role, even at like Harper One now, is like being able to tell that story of here's the problem, here's this technology that we're implementing, but here's the business value and how it's going to impact whatever the customer's journey through the website, the customer's journey through going to the banks or whatnot. So I could see the translation even still, as much as I'm sure you look back and go, wow, I went to school for marketing communications.
Yeah.
But it absolutely translates still even to what you're doing now.
There are things that I use from there, all my classes, even in getting my master's, and that was getting, more outside the box. But yeah, it's been helpful for where I am.
Love it. Now, if there's somebody listening or watching this that's kind of at similar place where you were back in your career or in college, and you could go back even to your college self and give yourself some career advice, what might it be?
I would say, two things. Can I have two things?
You can have
All
two things.
One of them is be your own advocate, or be your number one advocate, especially if you work hard at something and you work hard and you deserve it. Ask for it. And, closed mouths don't get fed. Is that what they say? So work hard and ask for it, and don't be afraid to ask for it. And then the second thing I would say is that I might get in trouble for saying this. The second thing I would say would be that your success to me is proportionate with how cool you are with saying, fuck it, I'll figure it out. There is a direct correlation. So if you can live true to that and be confident in yourself and in your abilities, and that you'll figure it out, opportunities will come, doors will open, you'll stretch yourself, you'll challenge yourself, and you'll ultimately get what you want. So
kind of not necessarily always needing to have the answer.
Correct.
But knowing the resources and being willing to go find the answer.
Yeah.
I love that. Reminds me of, even in high school, I had an English teacher that she had these posters all over the wall of like all the books that we were reading. And we'd have tests, and she would sit there and like, she said beforehand, if she didn't cover up a poster that had an answer to a test, she's like, it's not cheating. It's just using your resources around you.
Yeah, that's right.
Use the resources. If you don't know the answer, look around. Go find the answer. I like the way you put it, though. So, curious on now looking even ahead to where maybe even specifically banking in that mid-market space is going. And specifically thinking like data science, AI, machine learning, all these buzzwords right now. Where do you see kind of our focus or these business systems heading in regards to that?
Well, I think it's huge opportunity. Obviously, for financial services banking, there's a lot of regulations and a lot of skepticism, I think, around it, especially, again, bigger banks, a little bit more mature than where we are and some of our peers. But I think the appetite is there. I know quite a bit of our peer banks, and even we have dipped our toe into some of those things, especially, with what's going on fraud. Right now, robotics process automation, I know is not necessarily a new concept.
Yeah.
It's been out for a while, but for us and for banks of the like, dipping our toe into that in terms of becoming more efficient. Obviously, efficiency ratio and all of that stuff is important to banks. So using robotics process automation to do mundane tasks, and making sure we create capacity for our people to focus on value-add activities, servicing our customer, things of that nature. But yeah, I mean, I know we have probably a ton of use cases right now for more data science type capabilities.
Yeah.
We're not there yet, but I think the future is bright, not to sound super corny.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a ton of opportunity. It's just kind of getting over that hump and skepticism and fear, again, with the regulatory component and this, information security, data security is a big one, obviously, all the PII.
Yep.
So I think once we start to dip our toe and get more comfortable, that more will come, because efficiency, capacity, making things easier, focusing the people that we have on more value-add activities, and really getting, I would say, the insights that we need to drive decisions as opposed to being retroactive with decisions. Whether it's about customers or getting into a new market or should we build a new branch or whatever it is. Really being that more data-driven organization. I mean, you can't not do those things.
No, yeah. And I like how, and this to me makes your role even more important, thinking about AI, data science, machine learning, is so many of these companies, and you hit on it with banking, of like compliance and all of that, of they need to build out a roadmap to get to AI successfully.
Yes.
And to be able to do it successfully.
Yes.
Or if they don't have somebody like yourself in there looking at the big picture of how do we keep AI in mind, but do all these other things before we get there on kind of that data maturity graph to make sure we're going to do it well and put our money in the right place. So I think that you hit that on like perfectly, nail on the head for sure. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to chat.
Of course.
We'll do more of these, I hope, down the road. And excited to see kind of where your career continues to go, even at HarborOne and so on. So thanks again for coming in, and thanks for tuning in, everybody.